Om. Hello and Namaste friends. As those of you who have watched the introductory video will recall, I am Neti and Aham Brahmasmi. I live in North America and I started the Living Sanatana Dharma series to share what I learned about Sanatana Dharma and how I live by its concepts and values. I find that these concepts and values are very helpful to keep me on a steady course through the ups and downs of life. My hope is that in one or more of these recordings, you will find ideas or concepts from Sanatana Dharma that you can apply in your lives too. We all aim to lead happy lives. I found the secret of everlasting bliss by applying the teachings of Sanatana Dharma in my life. I hope that you do too. Today I would like to talk about Sanatana Dharma's concept of the cycle of time, creation, existence, dissolution, and recreation of the universe, and how this relates to the cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth of living beings in the universe, and in turn, our material well-being and spiritual progress. Sanatana Dharma includes the concept of cyclical time through the concept of yugas or eras. The duration of the yugas is mentioned in several Purans, most notably the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Linga Puran, the Brahma Vaivarta Puran. This text defines the four yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapar and Kali, as a descending cycle of morality and duration, with one Mahayuga, that is the total of the four yugas, totaling 4,320,000 human years. Satya Yuga lasts for 1,728,000 years, Treta Yuga lasts for 1,296,000 years, Dwapar Yuga 864,000 years, and the current Kali Yuga 432,000 years. Other texts outlining these cycles include the Manusmriti, Surya Siddhanta, and Mahabharata. At the end of a Mahayuga, there is a universal disaster when everything is destroyed. With the beginning of a new Satyuga, the original state of purity of creation is restored, and the Mahayuga cycle restarts. One day of Brahma, known as a Kalpa, consists of 1,000 Mahayugas. Therefore, it lasts 4.32 billion human years. A full 24-hour cycle, day and night of Brahma, which equals to 8.64 billion years, during which Brahma creates, sustains, and then dissolves the universe. If you have viewed the other recordings in this series, you may have noticed that the cycle of creation, existence, dissolution of the universe mirrors another cycle, that of the birth, life, death, and rebirth of living beings. As a reminder, the term Sanatana in Sanatana Dharma means everlasting. Satya Yuga is the first and longest era of each cycle. It lasts for 1,728,000 years. It is characterized by virtue and wisdom, and there's practically no ignorance or vice. Relatively minimal conflicts is evident from the scriptures, and definitely much less than in the subsequent three yugas. It is named Satya Yuga as it is the yuga where people were the closest to the ultimate reality, that is to the Supreme. The Manusmriti mentions that in Satya Yuga, people were free from disease, accomplished all their aims, and lived much longer than in the current Kali Yuga. Satya Yuga was dominated by sattvic qualities in individuals and in society. People were more likely to follow the path leading to divinity. While all the paths of yoga were available, the scriptures of Sanatana Dharma frequently mention dhyan, that is meditation, a step in the Raj Yoga path, as very popular in Satya Yuga. Key events that took place in Satya Yuga are highlighted in the Vedas, especially the Rig Veda, the earliest of the scriptures of Sanatana Dharma, and in the Purans. Treta Yuga is the second era, lasting for 1,296,000 years, in which negative qualities start to increase, that is, tamas and rajas start to grow. According to the Manusmriti, spiritual progress towards moksha was enabled by Jnana Yoga. Treta Yuga includes the coming of Sri Ram and the events depicted by Rishi Valmiki, a contemporary of Sri Ram, in his Ramayana. In that original version of the Ramayana, God, in the form of Vishnu, took birth on earth as Rama to provide guidance on Dharma by leading an exemplary life as a son, husband, brother, friend, and ruler. He inspired and enlightened people across Bharat, from the inhabitants of his birthplace in Ayodhya in northern Bharat to people living in the forests of southern Bharat at the time, also known as the Vanaras. By setting an example of the ideal human values at every step of his life, he left a legacy that continues to inspire hundreds of millions of people to live better lives aligned with the values of Sanatana Dharma. Dwapar Yuga is the third Yuga, lasting 864,000 years. In this Yuga, there is an increase in decline of virtue and goodness, and Rajasic and Tamasic tendencies increase. The Manusmriti indicates that in Dwapar Yuga, Bhakti Yoga activities such as the performance of ritual yugas, that is, prayers around a sacred fire altar, were most frequent for spiritual benefits. Notable events in Dwapar Yuga include the life of Sri Krishna, who provided guidance about how to live in alignment with Dharma and how to attain moksha, including through the Bhagavad Gita. Kali Yuga lasts for 432,000 years. The present Kali Yuga started in what corresponds to the year 3102 BCE. 2026 therefore corresponds to year 5128 of the present Kali Yuga. Kali means conflict in Sanskrit. The Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vishnu Puran both predicted Kali Yuga to be an era of intense moral decay, where human virtue and lifespan decline. Wealth becomes the sole metric of status, justice is based on power, relationships are based on superficial attraction. Society becomes ruled by corrupt leaders with widespread deception and dishonesty. In other words, Rajas and Tamas dominate and Sattva is minimal. People live up to 100 years, leaving less time for people to progress spiritually than in the previous yugas. According to the Manusmriti, Karma Yoga will be a helpful approach for spiritual progress in Kali Yuga, although all paths of yoga are available in any of the yugas. In Kali Yuga, evil peaks to such a point that in its final years there is widespread destruction, annihilating all evil, and preparing for another Satyuga. Then the cycle begins again. So what is it all about? Well, it is God's playground. By now, it should be clear that the yugas are like various acts in an infinitely big and long-lasting play. In each subsequent act or yuga, the scenario calls for a gradual decline in virtue or sattva and a reduced lifetime for people, which means less time in each life for spiritual progress. Our goal as we progress from life to life across the yugas is therefore to maintain and strengthen our connection to the Supreme against the rising strength of Maya within ourselves and the worsening Rajasic and Tamasic tendencies. The Manusmriti describes the process of creation. From the unmanifest comes forth the manifested creation. So from the ultimate, infinite, unmanifested form of God, God creates the Brahmand, an egg-shaped universe, and fills it with energy. From this energy, which is still an unmanifested form, matter is formed, and the manifested universe takes shape. Ultimately, the manifested universe, made up of matter, will collapse back into the unmanifest, as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Underlying the entire creation, maintenance, and dissolution cycles is the ultimate, infinite, unchanging, unmanifest reality, that is God. The Gita indicates that we, as parts of God, are placed in the created universe to play our roles, life after life, throughout the eternal cycle of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. As we begin these journeys, our karmic accounts are initialized and start to record our actions for future impacts. This accumulating karmic information is referred to as sanchit or total karma. See the video on karma for more on this. In each successive life, we are born under the influence and constraints of a subset of our total karma called prarabdha karma. We proceed to create new karma through each life, that is kriyaman karma, adding to our sanchit karma. Our karmic records are part of the manifested creation and evolves as we play our part in the created universe. However, we, as such, are pure parts of God, infinite, eternal, unchanging. So our karmic records will last as long as time exists, and time itself is a property of the created universe, as are all other dimensions. Time or dimensions are irrelevant in the absolute unmanifested ultimate reality, of which we are pure parts. So, as mentioned in the video on moksha, we do not have to go anywhere or wait for a specific time to attain the ultimate, infinite, unchanging reality. We just have to realize it through Gyan Yoga. See the video on yoga for more on that. The Bhagavad Gita indicates that if we keep making efforts towards moksha, life after life, this also becomes part of our karmic record, so in each successive life, we can build upon our progress in previous lives, although we may not be aware of the details. We do not have to travel to a specific location or wait for a specific time of the year or the day to connect with God, nor do we need to undertake a specific ritual. We just need to realize that we are one with God at any time, all the time, and in any place. Aham Brahm Asmi. If we are able to keep that understanding closest to our hearts and minds all the time, we can feel the bliss of Satchit Ananda. Occasionally, God may visit and play with us, and there are many examples in the Purans and the Itihas, such as the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. As the entire Bhagavad Gita indicates, God comes to guide us so that we play our parts in the way most aligned with righteous principles, that is Dharma. Knowing this reality, is there any need for us to be tempted to seek as a spiritual goal to break away from the cycle of time and the associated cycle of birth and death? Also, as part of our planned cycle of time, we, as parts of God, will be reabsorbed when the manifested universe is dissolved as part of each cycle. Chapter 8, verse 20 of the Bhagavad Gita indicates that beyond the cycle of creation, maintenance, and dissolution lies the ultimate and manifested reality, God. So we will be back in our pure form with God anyway, leaving behind any association with the created universe, including our karmic records and the ups and downs of the impacts of our karma. The point is, whatever drives us to seek to break away from the cycle of time and birth and death, whether it is our perception of excessive suffering caused by our own karma, or our spiritual love for God, Gyan Yoga teaches us that such a desire of breaking away is futile, as on one hand, dissolution and reabsorption is already planned as part of the cycle, and secondly, we just need to see beyond the veil of Maya that we are always one with the Supreme anyway. In Dwapar Yuga, Sri Krishna reminds us in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verses 7 and 8, that God comes to guide us so that we can take action to evolve from the adverse qualities of tamas and rajas to a purer state of sattva. By living in alignment with the values of Sanatana Dharma, we can continue our progress beyond the three gunas, through one or more of the path of yoga, towards spiritual oneness with the Supreme, towards moksha. This brings me to the end of what I wanted to share with you through this video about the cycle of time and related concepts. In summary, we are now in Kali Yuga, the age of conflict. Considering the constraints that this imposes on our lives, particularly in terms of the length of time available in a lifetime and the intense pressure of Maya in this particular yuga, it is important for us to awaken spiritually and to choose a path of yoga or union with the divine that will help us not only with our spiritual progress but also with material well-being. Through our awareness of these ideas and concepts, and by cultivating the Sanatana Dharma value of Swadhyay, we can make appropriate changes to our lifestyle, thoughts, words, and actions to live better lives in our journey towards moksha. People are, of course, free to exercise their freedom and to live their lives in the way they want to, and be prepared to reap the consequences of their kriyaman karma, that is, the results of their decisions and actions. I hope this was a good use of your time. If you have any questions or suggestions for topics related to Sanatana Dharma that you would like me to address, you can email those to me, and if I can address those, I will. Also, if you find these recordings useful, please share the link to this channel with others who might be interested. And yes, please subscribe to the channel and like the videos you like. Thank you for your attention. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.